I have Jerry Nazareth. So he is also a senior Salesforce consultant, and both of them are doing wonderful job in the Salesforce ecosystem. And our first presenter for today is Nida. So Nida will be talking about. I hope most of you have heard about the consumer goods cloud. If not, definitely you can understand like what's a consumer good cloud is, what are some features that it provides, it can be used as a solution for your clients. So Nida, over to you.
Thank you so much, brother. Let
Um,
me.
Nida, there is a the voice is not clear. There's something like check your headphones or headsets.
Is it okay now?
Not yet. Apologize, everyone. That's the curse of virtual meeting. Um,
Is it okay now? Hello.
it become better. Initially, it was not.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Uh, Let me share my screen. You know when everyone can see it. Is it visible?
Yes.
Okay, great. So thank you for the introduction, brother. Just for a brief introduction of my own, that I am basically Salesforce sales and CPQ certified, and I have also have Datorama implementation specialist certification, and I'm currently working as team lead at Cloud Junction Advisors. Um, the agenda for today's meetup is I'll cover the following topics: that what is exactly consumer goods cloud and what capabilities it offers us, how customer profiles and retail stores are managed, your products and your retail store products are connected, how your visit execution is done, how your order management is done, and then I'll cover Salesforce maps and some of the exciting features that were released in summer 21 release. In the end, we'll go with Q&A sessions and our quiz. Uh, are we, everyone, can everyone hear me?
You're perfectly fine.
Okay, great. Moving forward, this is forward-looking statements by Salesforce. So with that, what exactly Consumer Goods Cloud is it is for all segments of consumer goods, including food and beverage or personal care, health and beauty, and many other products that a consumer can use. Well, you can take an example of where it could be your any store working. For example, it could be locally Imtiaz or Nahid. They are a combination of multiple consumer goods. So they can be our perfect examples for consumer goods cloud, and I'll give more examples about it. And it allows basically brands to align with channel partners more effectively within a single platform, and it equips your sales manager with data insights and analytics to understand more better opportunities and deals for their accounts, and it really empowers your reps to execute their visits and order management. Furthermore, it accelerates your planning. I'll explain more how it does that. And with that, what are the basic capabilities? What are the basic capabilities that it does is the key. It gives the 360 degrees for your accounts. For one platform within one platform, and it gives you can use Tableau CRM for consumer goods cloud to see your sales performance and your field reps performance, and it also has a recommendation by Einstein which prioritize your visits on a basis of smart recommendations. With that, it optimizes your field rep execution, your visit planning, how which visit to come first, or how to minimize your downtime, how to drive efficiency. The next is how your data models and integrations can accelerate and give add value to your system. The next is how customer profiles and retail stores are managed. Basically, your account and retail store object is where you store your business information about your retail stores, your billing, your shipping addresses, and payment information. With that, retail store is basically where you are connected with your account profiles and where you have your physical locations, um, which gives your account hierarchies. Basically, your account and retail stores are connected in one-to-one relationships. For example, uh, the the example I could give is the project I did for a customer had a 3-tiered relationship. For example, I could give you Imtiaz supermarket example. I created, for example, account for Imtiaz supermarket, and then different retail stores among. It could be next to this Tariq Road branch has another retail store object record, and then you can have a different one for Gulshan. So all these accounts had a different relationship with accounts, but since account and retail stores have one-to-one relationship, you have to create a parent account for every other retail store, and then you connect both of them. What granular details retail stores can give you that it can has operating hours and preferred visiting hours. The difference between operating and visiting hours could be visiting hours, for example, it could be 8 to 6 right now, but preferred visiting hours is when a field rep can have meeting with the store manager and can order different details of it. Is how is it preferred visiting hours is done. Your store priority is on retail stores, and your preferred method of delivery, that whether it is preferred by a truck or a van. Are we all on the same page? Is everyone understanding? So,
So I don't think they can speak, Nida. So if anyone has any questions, please post it in the chat, and we'll get back to you after Nida's session. Thanks.
Thanks,
great.
Jerry, for the details.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Jeremy. Yeah. So the next is products and store products. Well, everybody would already have an idea what products are. So products are basically a record in Salesforce that is part of your product object that has an SKU and a saleable unit. But what a store product is basically a junction object which has your which is basically related to your retail stores. For example, which products does Imtiaz has, it will be stored in store product object. And within that store product object, there is an in-store location, for example, where the product is being placed in that specific store. And that product placement is a very vital part of the retail strategy because the more prominent the product is, the more it will be sell to the customers. So if you place the most popular products near the cash counter, it will grab customers' attention more. And there could be categories for the in-store location, such as aisles, shelves, or checkout counters. You can actually create more categories into in-store locations. When then it comes to store visit management, and this is the actually the retail execution part where a visitor visits your retail store for different task, and a retail a visit can have multiple attributes. For example, the place, it would be actually the location on your retail store, and then it will be connected to the visit object to have the location of the and the address of the retail store. The visitor will be your field rep that will be visiting the retail store for orders or any of the complaints or the product delivery. That would be the visitor, and hence that would be internal user field rep lookup. Then it would be a planned start and end date, that when your visit is planned. For example, it would be starting today, 31st of July, on 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. or 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. It could be varied, and that is actually captured on visit. Then you can have your visit priority and your status, whether it is in progress or abandoned or completed. The next is your store management, store order management. When your sales rep goes to visit your field rep, the field rep goes to visit your retail store. It basically does number of items, and you can actually list those number of items in action plans, and those tasks will be done in execution. And that task would be created in execution, and you can do is your store order management can capture stores, store orders, where you can order multiple products, what the store wants, and if you have inventory stored, and different your different order products will be stored according to your orders placed in Salesforce. Then you have Salesforce Maps. This is basically for your field reps, and it is map-based interface that tracks your stores on your territory, and it also prioritizes your visits and whether what would be your travel time, how could you reduce it, and the number of visits that you have uh, planned for today, this week, and it also gives you hours and duration for the right time. Before moving forward, I would just like to know if anybody has any questions. Do we have any questions? I'm looking at the chat, but I don't see any. So let's move forward. I have few exciting summer release 21 updates that was related to consumer goods cloud, and that are the visit execution app. At first, this visit execution app was only available for mobile apps, not for desktop app. But since uh, consumer goods cloud is a new product and it's evolving every other time, some in the releases, so this is a new release that it lets uh, your app perform all your visit execution tasks without being physically on the stores. And this um, evolved because most because of this COVID times, most of the things that are not cannot be done physically, only virtually is done. You can actually perform all your tasks at home, and then you can order or deliver your products to the stores. And but however, the only thing it does not cater right now is that you cannot scan your products in the app. So while ordering for every product, you have to scroll down for all the products, and then you have to uh, order for your quantity and the price. The next is your your consumer goods cloud setup. Uh, Now you don't have to look for your documentation and if see if you have missed any step for your setting up consumer goods cloud. Everything is there in lighting setup assistance, like it is for lighting or lighting scheduler or many other features that Salesforce provides. It gives step-by-step guide to how to set up permission sets and prepare how to prepare your org, how to create record pages and record types for different objects. It gives a complete documentation, technical documentation to you, and you don't have to search for it. The next few are small, but are relatively had a greater impact. Is that you can now assign a store to multiple groups. For example, India's could be related to garments or daily products or many other things. At first it could be only related to one retail store group type. That means it could be either a garment store or either a grocery store, but now it could be multiple, and now you can relate your store products to store store groups. And then active and valid products available for placing an order. Like I said, at first you had to scroll down all through all the products and then select, but now it has given a feature that only active and valid products. By valid it means it could be the date effective date on the product. For example, the product is available from 1st of July to 31st of September. Only those products will appear whether if only if they are valid and active, and from those you can choose when you're ordering. And the last is you create your product orders. Well, it's an efficient way that only the products that has the same currency with your accounts will appear when you'll be ordering. For example, if you have Imtiaz currency, it has PKR currency identified on the object level, on the account object level. The the products that are listed in PKR price book only those products will be available for ordering. Well, that was it for my presentation. Do we have any questions?
Thank you so much, Nida. I have a question. So if you can just share some more lights on the visiting app that you mentioned, like what's the purpose of it, how it is used, and how is it helpful basically for the reps who are basically visiting the different stores, and what features does it give to those reps?
Uh, it's actually a very powerful tool. Thank you, Vedar, for asking that question. Visiting app is for visit execution. Well, when a field rep goes to that store or a retail store, it first starts your visit, so it calculates and your time on the visit itself, and then it has multiple tasks that your your field rep manager can give you, that you have to go and order some of those products. You have order management basically, and you can choose and order for different products, and then you can go for either it could be how you plan your shelves and how your products are visible on the stores. You can do it by planograms. The other thing you can do on the visiting execution app is how you can take surveys from your store manager, that whether the customer, how is his customer sentiments, and does he has any complaints. So all those surveys can be done on the visit execution app as well. And then the visit execution Salesforce Maps capability that allows the field rep to have a prioritized map that that he has to visit different stores per day or this week. It has all those visits, and GPS take that minimizes downtime and which store has had a high priority, so he should go to that store. So these are all those features that Visit Execution app gives to a field rep.
My second question is this app only available with the consumer good cloud?
Visit
Does
Execution app?
yeah, does or is it like available separately, or you just need to buy a license of that app?
No, it's basically a consumer goods app because it uses consumer goods cloud objects, visits, retail stores. All these objects are for consumer goods cloud specifically. So all these, so this app is specifically for CGC cloud.
Okay. Um, so people are asking like there's a short or there's no such material for the CG cloud. Like there should be someone somewhere, but people can't find it. So if you can just post the link over here from where people can see, learn. Um, Definitely, it
I
should be
can,
on the trailhead,
yes,
right?
it is on the trailheads, and it is a very detailed trailhead that is there. I can actually post all the links in the chat here right now, in just in 3 minutes.
Sure. Thank you so much. Um, Guys, anyone has any other question? This is the time to ask. Um, okay. Thank you so much, Nida. That was a wonderful introduction to the Consumer Goods Cloud, and I hope everyone has now learned a new cloud that is available in the Salesforce ecosystem. Um, so that was a new learning moment for me. Like, what's the purpose of it? How it can be used? What are some key features that this cloud is providing? And definitely, if you receive any kind of requirement or a customer that belongs to the like retail storing type business, so definitely you can implement the consumer good cloud over there. So next presenter for this session, guys, is Jerry, and Jerry will basically present to you a very common and an important tool that is being used on daily basis to generate the forms via form assembly, and how it can be integrated with Salesforce. What are some common use cases over there? Jerry, over to you.
Thanks, Badar, and thank you, Nida, for your presentation. It was a good one. So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. Thank you for joining in, and thank you for your time today, this afternoon. Today, I'll be presenting. In fact, let me just share my screen here and let me know if you can see it. In fact,
I I, I can see the
thanks a lot,
screen.
Badar. So, a little introduction myself. I'm 3X certified. I work for Cloud Junction as a consultant. I work on multiple technologies, sales service, Pardot, and also financial services clouds. Today, I have a very interesting topic for you, and that is form assembly for Salesforce. I'll talk about what form assembly is, how you can daily admin tasks, or even if you're a developer, it would be very handy for you in maybe for your customers, for your future customers or your present customers. And probably by the end of it, you would learn how this works and how you would recommend it to your known customers or your future customers. So our agenda for today is the need for easily integratable web forms, right? I'll talk about why it's so important for us to easily integrate web forms in a fast manner and with low code or no code. Number two, I'll talk about what is form assembly anyway and why do we need it, right? I think the fourth topic is then about form assembly product features. I'll talk about very basic form assembly features since it's a vast tool and we don't want to go into the weeds of form assembly because it can get quite complicated. So for this session, I'll talk about the basic admin related form assembly features. And lastly, I'll show you around a demo that I've created for a client of mine and show you around the basic features that I've created for them in the financial services industry. So why do we need to integrate Salesforce web forms or any external web forms through APIs with low code and or no code? So many of you join in probably are developers or admins, but this is targeted more towards the admins since obviously admins don't have very much technical skills. Um, but obviously, the thing is, even developers could also benefit from this tool right here. So I'm sure everyone has created a form sometime in their life, and they've probably run into a few, or even not a few, a lot of errors in terms of integration, in terms of tedious code. It gets too time consuming, and there's a lot of code that requires a lot of streamlining and reviewing. So form assembly here, in fact, I'll talk about that when I actually review the form assembly features, but it takes a lot of time to actually review everything that you have. And in this case, what is more preferable to the admins in the Salesforce ecosystem is probably something easier, something more robust, something that they can, do in a short amount of time. And which is obviously very easy for someone new who hasn't been introduced to code to learn something about forms and how they work, right? So the most preferred way by admins would be drag and dropping some fields in, enhancing the UI through the interface, right? The design can be very easily enhanced, and the third thing that obviously is, which is the most important, would be the API integration. No one wants to spend loads and loads amounts of time integrating custom APIs and callouts through your web forms into Salesforce. I know you do have web lead forms, but them too have a lot of customization when it finally reaches the site. So this is the most preferred by admins, right? This is the most preferred way. And luckily enough, we have a tool that does that for us. Ultimately, what it will result in, building fast forms, right? Everyone wants their forms to get done fast. Project timelines are at stake. Everyone needs integrated APIs with zero errors. You don't want to go and streamline your code, review it multiple times. And lastly, we want a no code solution or a low code solution if it comes to that. And form assembly is one of the right tools for the fit. So what is form assembly and why do we need it anyway, right? Let me just talk a little more about that. So over here you can see my screen. I have a screenshot of form assembly and its form interface. Over here, we don't need much technical skills. All it does is you need a drag and drop interface that can be very, very easy to learn, right? As you can see here, you have an interface where you can customize the styles, add new fields to your form, integrate it very easily. As you can see, there are um, some sections over here which I'll explain further in my demo, where you can connect your forms very, very easily. And all in all, it is a very, very simple tool for admins to kind of get used to in terms of integrating different forms or surveys. What this results in is that forms are obviously built with speed, like I mentioned before. There is zero opportunity for errors. Now, obviously, when you're creating a field, you'd have to check it, you'd have to test it. Form assembly over here is obviously out of the box. You don't really need to test any fields because it's built by the backend anyway, right? It's easily integratable with Salesforce out of the box, right? So you have connectors not only for Salesforce, but also your external websites and web apps. And what that would result in is timelines met and obviously a happy customer, which everyone needs. So this right here is the secret sauce for building web forms very, very easily in a fast timeline and with zero errors. Now I'd like to talk about some of the product features that Form Assembly offers. And a lot of it is very interesting. And I'm sure some of you or most of you would use this or have used this in your day-to-day tasks dealing with customers. But before that, I'd like to show you some plans in Form Assembly that they've laid out here. So it comes in 4 versions. You have the professional version, the Premier, Enterprise, and the Compliance Cloud solution. So which is very obvious over here. The professional and Premier versions are the most common, right? They are the low code solutions over here. So, and they also provide a very minimal, um, let's just say, a minimal interview for Form Assembly. Later on, you have the enterprise and the compliance cloud, which provides more advanced features like security and privacy controls for, let's just say, the financial services industry. You have a lot of credit card transactions. You have a lot of SIN numbers being passed through the forms, and they provide absolutely good security for those kind of forms. Before I carry on, please don't hesitate to post your questions in the chat. Badr will view them, and we can talk about this after this session. So form assembly basic features. Now, I know some of you have already obviously worked on Salesforce and have created forms custom, right? But here's where you can add value to these forms by building it from low code or no code. And over here, you can create records in form assembly. You can update existing records in form assembly. So let's just say you need to create new records into different, excuse me, into different objects. And you need, let's just say there are some scenarios where you need to update existing records. So form assembly has those kind of features built in, which is very, very easy to customize and produce into different forms as well. Number 3, we have pre-filling of forms. So let's just say there's a scenario where your customer does not want to fill out an already pre-existing record from scratch. They don't want to spend a lot of time and that tedious effort in filling everything from the beginning. They want where they left off. So pre-filling forms is another very, very cool feature in form assembly, where on a click of a button, you can preload your entire record or series of records from various objects into one single form with a single click. The fourth one is one of my favorites, is the e-signature tool. So form assembly also includes e-signature tools, right? An e-signature tool, and that is obviously in box. And what it comes with is a simple PDF layout, nothing too fancy. I know like Conga and DocuSign have a very nice fancy layout, but the e-signature included with form assembly is very basic, but it does include the functionality. So that's a very, very cool functionality with the license itself. All right, so if there are any questions in the chat, here's the time to post them before I jump into the walkthrough in Salesforce. So Badr, you could look out for anything there. If not, I'll hop into Salesforce right here and show you what I've built.
Yeah, no questions, Jerry, up till now.
All right, awesome. So we're here. If everyone can see my screen, I just want to confirm before I carry on.
Yes, I can see the form assembly
Awesome.
layout.
Okay. So over here, I'd like to take you through the layout of form assembly. We'll talk about the functionality, and we'll talk about the processing of form assembly into Salesforce. So as you can see here, there's a very, very simplistic interface where you can customize your forms. This is one of the forms that I've built for one of my customers and for the financial services industry, right? What I've done here is I've created sections for each of the fields that I've wanted. I can drag and drop fields from my content layout into my form. So you can see I have a number of fields to select from. So there are text inputs, there are radio buttons. I think all of the common fields that are usually used in a form are included in this package. You go ahead and create sections like I've done over here to segregate your forms for different sets of data. And you can add your text and headings to your forms to customize look and feel. After that, I'll show you the themes over here. So over here, we have a bunch of themes, right? There are very cool themes that I've out of the box from Form Assembly itself. But what I've also gone and done is I've created a total custom theme from Form Assembly. And what you can also do is for the developers out there, if you don't like the themes out of the box, you can go and add your custom CSS into Form Assembly. They're also given an option to highly customize your forms and brand it in a way that customers really want it to be. For example, if they wanted to replicate one of their sites, you can also go ahead and do that with their logos, like what I've done here. And there are also, as you can see, a lot of CSS UI buttons that you can mess around with and play with. It's very, very simplistic, right? So you can see the custom CSS section over here. Over here, you have your layout, your property section, right, where you can mess around with the width, the height, and adjust that according to your needs. So that's a very basic overview of the front end itself. Let's hop on to the back end and see what's in store. So I'll click on the publishing link over here, and it opens up the page where you can see I can also publish this form on various pages. As you can see here, they've given me custom code that I can host on my website, or if I want, I could just copy this link and paste it as an embedded link on a website. That depends on you, right? Obviously, if there does come an opportunity for you to paste the entire HTML and the CSS in a particular external web app, you can do that as well. I can use a REST API server-side script if I want to paste that link over there. It also is very easily integrated with WordPress. And the last one is just a pre-fill form of dynamic pre-filling, which I'll talk to you about in a minute. Let's move on to the processing part. So over here, it basically shows me who I want the responders to be, right? So when I click on this drop down, you can see there are security measures that can be taken into filling out the form. Right now, it's a public link. So whenever I go and paste this link in a incognito browser without my cookies, it would be accessible by anyone having the link of the form. As you can see, there are a number of security measures and authentications that you could use. One of them being Salesforce community user, which is also a very, very important tool, or a very famous tool, in fact, used by most form assembly users in the Salesforce ecosystem, since they have already community licenses that customers purchase. So you could use this as one of your authentication measures. Okay, and let's go on to the connectors part, one of the most exciting parts of form assembly itself. So out here, you could see there are 4 connectors. You have the form opened, the form in progress after saved, the form submitted, and what happens to the form after it's submitted. Right here, I've configured just the form opened, which is the prefill, and the form when it's submitted. So over here, it's just an example of when a form is opened up for the second time, what happens to the form and what it's filled with. And over here in the form submitted section, it's what happens to the form when it's submitted for the first, second, or whenever it's submitted after the first time. So let's jump into the form submitted side and see what it has. So as you can see here in my backend, I have a couple of instructions here that I've given form assembly. And these are a couple of rules that I've created. I'll take you through them. Just like to expand here on this one. So what I've created is I'm updating the account record, and how I'm recognizing the ID is through a person account ID and an email. So as long as you have a unique identifier for any record in Salesforce, it can read and write into the object that you'd require it to. So in this case, as you can see, I'm taking 2 identifiers here, and I'm mapping all my fields that I need to be inserted or upserted in Salesforce. I'd like to scroll down here a bit. As you can see, there are multiple objects that are dependent on it and different scenarios of when I would like to update my record. So how would I actually use this in real time? For that, I'd like to hop onto Salesforce right here and show you what I built. So over here, it's a simple person account record. And this is a financial services cloud org that I built. And I'd like to show you what happens when we pre-fill the record and when we submit the record. So what I've done in Salesforce for the configuration in Salesforce is I've built a button that links me to the form externally. So when I click on the button, it should open up the form externally with the pre-fill information, as you can see. Now, up top, I'd just like to point out, since I've taken into account the account ID, as you can see, this is called dynamic pre-filling that I told you about previously. It dynamically pre-fills according to your IDs that you've matched in the URL itself. So let's just say if I copy this over here, you see it's the same ID that I've presented in Salesforce, and it's the very same record that I've opened up according to the record in Salesforce, right? So you can see it has all the records that are pre-filled. In fact, I think there is one missing. Yeah, so just put that as a test value. And if I go to the next page, this is a related record from the record itself. So if I go into Salesforce and if I go into the investment objectives record, you can see that I'm pulling all my child records into this very same form through the same ID. So just like to reiterate, as long as I have a identifier, in this case is the person account ID, I can pre-fill all the related records of the primary object and the primary object record itself. So this is a pretty cool feature from Form Assembly. I've used this a lot in most of my implementations when clients ask me, how can I fill multiple records, but I don't want to duplicate my fields. So what happens is for a related record, let's just say this is a line item, and in this case, it's obviously a financial account information. I can have the option to actually add another response. So if I have, let's just say, 5 responses, and I can obviously input all those 5 responses and they would be read as separate records in Salesforce. But just a disclaimer, I can only fill up to 5 records for a related object in Salesforce. As you can see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 records. I can't really write more than 5 records into Salesforce. So I'll just remove this for now, and which will take me to the submit page. Over here, it's just a sample PDF that gets produced. Like I said, it's not a very, a stylistic format like Conga or PDF Butler or other forms, but it's a very simple tool that really lets you perform your e-signature for people who are in the financial services industry or others. If I scroll down, I also added an e-signature session over here. So I have an opportunity to actually draw, or I could just type my name in and it would automatically get populated over here. So when I submit, what happens is my record then gets updated into Salesforce. But before that, there is obviously another nugget. So you can write your customized messages for your customers who are part of many forms. So this is one of them, and you can do that accordingly for different forms. So what happens here, it refreshes. Let me refresh this and show you how that works. So I didn't really fill in any new information, but it's updated over here. As you can see, the last modified date, this is the time, and this account gets uploaded and updated. So very cool features in Form Assembly. There are more features in Form Assembly that I won't really talk about in this session, but just to give you a brief overview of what Form Assembly is, how does it work, how does the connectors work and join towards each other. And lastly, I'd like to talk about one of the things in the connector that's very, very cool that I didn't point out earlier. So I'd like to come in here into the submitted connector. And as you can see here, if I add another object, it supports multiple objects, not only standard objects, but custom objects as well. But other than custom objects, it also supports, as you can see, you have the FinServ objects for the financial services, and most of the objects in Salesforce that are not easily accessible by other external APIs, it's actually accessible here in Form Assembly. So that's pretty cool. All right, so if there are any questions so far, you can please post it in the chat, and then we can talk about it after this session. If not, we can then move on to the quiz section.
So, Jerry, there is a question.
Sure.
So, Sheikh Ghulam has asked, like, how to integrate Form Assembly with the Salesforce?
Okay.
How to create a
Very
connection? Yeah.
Sure. So I can show you that really quick. So let's just say you have the form that you've created. The first thing that you would want to do is go into your connectors, right? Now, as you can see here, you have a form submitted connector, which basically means that you're submitting or inserting values in Salesforce. So what I've gone and done is I've added a connector, and there are a bunch of connectors that you can choose from. As you can see here, there are a bunch of different APIs that it connects with. In this case, I'm going to choose Salesforce, and it actually goes up top here. And one of the cool things is that you can connect to multiple orgs at one time. So if I can go and configure, you can authenticate here. So it says connect to Salesforce production, or if you want to connect to Sandbox, or if you have a custom domain, you can click on that. But since I've already authenticated my usernames here, I can go and just click on the one that's already authenticated, and it would give me direct access. And now you're in. So what happens is it gives you an option for status, which means that if you don't want this connector to work in the future, you can just simply disable it instead of deleting it for maybe future use. Maybe you'd want to edit this connector or add different objects in Salesforce. But for now, what you can do to actually enable your connector to have it working for the first time, you click on that. And the last step is obviously you select your first object, you select, let's just say, account, and you can map your fields over here, which is pulling all from your form and pulling into Salesforce. So does that answer your question?
I
I
believe
think
yes.
it. I think it does. Another question from Fatma is, why would someone choose form assembly? Why not other alternatives? And Jerry, if you can just highlight some other alternatives as well, like what form
Sure.
assembly, yeah, same features like form assembly have.
Sure. So there are multiple survey tools on the market, right? You have Salesforce surveys, which is directly from Salesforce out of the box. You have Survey Monkey, and there are a couple of others that also support this. But what is special about form assembly is, number one, pricing, right? You don't want your customers to pay a premium price for having such powerful functionality right out of the box. Now, I do know some of the customer centric survey tools that come with the same functionality, but pricing is always a major factor when it comes to customers. And what it also is that, let me just go into the connectors here. Not only does it have insertion, but it also has pre-filling, right? Another thing that's also very important when considering form assembly versus other tools. In personally my experience, I'm obviously not favorite. This is not no favoritism over tools, but just over my experience from what I've used in the past compared to other Salesforce tools and form assembly, is that it has a very simple UI to understand, even for a non-developer, right? So you have your pre-fill connectors, which can directly pre-fill the forms. You can post in the, post or insert in your forms. And you also have different scenarios of when your form is saved. So this is something that I've noticed that not every tool has, but even if other tools do have it, you're paying a premium price for it. So that's one of the factors that you keep in mind.
I hope Fatma, you have got your answer. Anyone else? Um, if not, Jerry, you can continue.
So guys, that I think that's about it, right? We've talked about, just to recap, we've talked about the interface, we've talked about the themes, the content, the properties, we've talked about publishing your forms, we've also talked about your connectors and your notifications. So I hope you've learned something about form assembly and how you could recommend it, or you could use other tools besides this that has the same functionality almost. But I hope this was very informative for you and for the teams, that you take this information and spread to your teams internally. So thanks a lot, guys. So Padar,
Thank,
over to you.
thank you so much, Jerry, for a wonderful session on how to use the form assembly with Salesforce and its key features. and I hope people who have not used the form assembly in any scenario definitely, yeah, they have learned a lot from here. Thank you so much, Jerry and Nida, for the information that you shared today. I hope it will be beneficial for all the people, all the attendees that are here in this session. So the next part is the quiz. So just want to highlight one point. The quiz, we have three certification vouchers for this quiz. So the top three people that are in the top three positions will get those vouchers. And one side note is um, those vouchers are just for the Pakistani community. So people who have joined from the like who are from Pakistan, they will get those vouchers as we want to promote the Pakistani community more. So let me share my screen, guys, and you can basically use your mobile to join this. So let me share my screen. Guys, can you confirm if you can see the quiz screen?
Yes, brother, we can.
Okay. Um, Guys, you can join via the QR code. You can scan this from your mobile and then you can join. Else, you can go to the slido.com and you can paste this code 191425 to join the quiz. So we have around 7 people in the quiz. I think everyone is here, Hamza. We got 11 people.
So whether it's actually the 11th one is you.
Yeah.
Brother, why you are participating in this quiz?
Not sure why my name is coming.
No, it's maybe you tried it earlier. All right, we're gonna start the quiz. In
Okay.
1, 2, 3 seconds. Yeah, go.
Thank you. Here we go. Okay, so most of them have answered the foreign key. 13% has answered the key value. And let's see, the correct answer is the foreign key. So that's good. 88% give the correct answer. Moving to the next question. So that's a leaderboard. Server Big is on the top. Um, yeah. So Mavish is on second and Mohi is on third. So moving to the next question. So mostly people has answered A and B, the option D. So that's the right answer. 50% of them are correct, and I think 50% of them answers are wrong. So Mohi is on top, Server is on second, and Ghulam Muhyiddin is on third. Okay, moving to the next question, guys.